And I see that it started. Now
Yes.
start sharing your document or presentation, whatever.
Okay. All right.
And everything is getting recorded now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anything else that can help you apart from this?
No, I think we may be all right unless it gets cut off again.
All right. I'm sure it should not happen again, okay?
Is our conversation now recorded?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank
right.
you. Thanks for your help.
Thank you. And if in case it gets disconnected, do give us a call back immediately, okay?
Okay, we will. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Center for Health and Healthcare in Schools webinar, Helping Immigrant and Refugee Students Achieve Partnering with Families to Support Student Mental Health Needs. This presentation today is being brought to you by the Center for Health and Healthcare in Schools and through funding from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Before we get started, we want to review some of the logistics of the webinar for those of you who are new to this venue. On your right-hand side, there is a navigation pane. On there is an icon that allows you to raise your hand, and you will see Q&A and chat features. You can ask private questions or questions that go out to everybody. We will be taking questions in written format only using the Q&A and chat feature. There is no audio, and everyone on the recording is muted. Please ask your questions as we go along. However, unless it's a clarifying question, we're going to be addressing questions at the end. We also would like to remind people that the presentation today is an hour in length, and it will not be enough time for our 700-plus registered participants to get all their questions in and get them answered. We will be hosting a blog for the next 2 weeks, and Eileen Kugler will be available to answer your questions in more detail. We'll give you more information on how to access this feature on our website at the end of the presentation. The session is being recorded and will be available, so please check back on our website for a link. I'd like to introduce our presenter today, Ms. Eileen Kugler. Ms. Kugler works as a consultant to schools and community groups on building strong school communities, both within the school walls and beyond. She has over a decade of experience as a parent and community volunteer in one of the nation's most diverse schools. She speaks to audiences from Anchorage to Atlanta and consults with school districts and programs throughout the country. Today she's going to be highlighting the unique strengths of the multicultural schools and the challenges of all who are working to actively support them. She's also president of her own communications firm and has written an award-winning book, Debunking the Middle Class Myth, Why Diverse Schools Are Good for All Kids. We want to welcome Ms. Kugler, and we thank all of you who are participating today.
Thank you very much, Donna. I am really thrilled to be part of this webinar today because it's such a critical issue in our schools. As I travel around the country and I work with diverse schools, I hear a frustration that they can't connect with the immigrant and refugee parents in their communities. They just have this feeling that the parents really don't care about these issues. And on the other hand, I work with immigrant and refugee parents, and they tell me that they would do anything to support the school. They came to the United States because of our education system. They have tremendous respect for the schools. And so we have these two sides, and there's a disconnect between the two. And hopefully at the end of the webinar today, we will really explore a lot of these issues and we will make that connection to improve the success of all our students, particularly the students from immigrant and refugee families. So the first thing I'd like to do is look for a moment at who is sitting in the classrooms today. Imagine two different students, and I think you're going to see some images of students who are sitting in the classes today, some similarities. First of all, let's look at 8-year-old Wafa, who has lived in the U.S. for about 5 years, but she really isn't engaged in her education. She rarely finishes her work. She doesn't do her homework. The teacher in the class has tried every strategy she can think of and none seems to be working. The teacher's reached out to her family. Wafa's family doesn't respond. And so the teacher is left with the conclusion this child simply doesn't care much about her education and is never going to be engaged. Then you've got another student, 12-year-old Juan. He's a recent immigrant from Central America. He argues with everyone, and you never quite know when you're going to be the victim of a violent explosion. And the teacher simply feels that this child lacks basic social skills. That's something I hear repeatedly from teachers. If we just trained these kids and they had some better social skills, then they'd be able to sit in class and really behave. And as we go through this, I think you're going to see that there are a lot of other issues beyond just behavior. And we need to be thinking beyond the basic behavior of what's going on in the classroom. We'll come back to these two students. Let's look a little bit at the statistics about the students. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail because you all know what's happening in the classrooms in terms of an increasing number of students from other countries. But let's just, a couple of statistics. I'm going to go back here for a second. Whoops. Okay. Couple of statistics. One is that we've had major immigration over the past 15 to 20 years, and about a third of it is from Mexico. But what we're seeing now is an increasing number of students who come from countries all over the world. And these students and their families are diverse in language, they're diverse in culture, economic status, education. And so we have to recognize that not all immigrants are the same. We tend to group them in one big lump and say, oh, they're all struggling, they're all working 2 and 3 jobs. And in some cases, unfortunately, that's true. But we also have some immigrant and refugee families who really do have some stability economically, and they may be able to partner with you and help you in reaching out to others. We also have a lot of immigrant and refugee parents who have had quite a good education themselves, some of them with advanced degrees. Part of the problem is that they'll come to the United States and there may be issues with language or certification, and in some cases they're working as a taxi driver. Sometimes they'll be a waiter or even a busboy, so they may not be able to use the education. But I urge you not to make the assumption that the parents don't have an education themselves. There are indeed parents who are illiterate in their home language. And on the other end of the scale, we have parents who have masters and doctorates and simply may not be able to work in those fields. And the point I want to make is that in terms of the population in the class, part of what we're seeing, the phenomenon we're seeing, is that while this English language learner population has increased, the overall K-12 population has remained flat. So that's why you're seeing a higher percentage of immigrant and refugee students. This information came out of a wonderful edition of Education Week called Portrait of a Population. And you can see a lot more detail about who these students are in our classrooms at the Education Week website, which is www.edweek.org. I urge you to look at some of the statistics there and some of the insights they have. Okay. Now, we know that there's more to the students than what is going on in their in the behavior that we're seeing in the classroom. So let's look a little bit deeper at what is happening. They have left what they consider to